we want to discuss how Bermuda is being compromised, how our small 20 miles are being compromised our island, our community, our family. I believe so often we make decisions based on an immediate gain or gratification. And then it's not until decades later we look back and understand that it was a mistake. And so currently, and I will introduce my guest very shortly, currently Bermuda is considering legalization of weed or marijuana. Now, even saying that sentence seems very strange, yet it is what we are faced with. And so, even though folks are not making a lot of noise, I believe that there is a silent majority that have great concerns. And so we're going to use this platform in order to speak to the issue. And I want to welcome tonight, this evening, our Pastor Veronica Outerbridge. Now, the beauty of having Pastor Outerbridge as a guest is that she is well versed in this topic, this issue of what we are already facing. And so again, the big question is, why would we go deeper into a pit when we're already experiencing trouble? And so with that in mind, again, I welcome all of you who have tuned in and all of you that will view it later on as guests. If you have questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the comment section, and God willing, we'll see them and get to them. So again, tonight, I keep saying night, even though the light's still out. Good evening. Pastor Outerbridge, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Seaman. Thank you for having me. And certainly it's a timely time for this. And so we're going to try our best tonight to inform and to educate something that is so close to us. And as you have said, we're still in the midst of a pandemic, and we certainly cannot afford another pandemic in this island of Bermuda. Right is right and wrong is no man's right. And so we're going to deal with this head on as much as God will be our helper. And I had to really get back into my resources, being out of the field for a while, but yet not being out with the people. My best teachers have been the people who are in there with the marijuana. And it's not a textbook thing, it's an experience thing. And so we would try our best tonight to educate and do what we can do.
Let me say that I have with me someone who is educated and experienced. Just because you're looking at two pastors does not mean you're looking at two women who do not know and understand the dangers of the chemical that we are considering legalizing. And so I just want to give you some of the credentials of our pastor here, and you will know that she is absolutely capable of speaking to this issue. She has a dual master's degree. She got a master's of divinity concentrating in pastoral counseling. So she's been a social worker, master of social work. She's worked with numerous committees, been a part of the Bermuda Drug Court, the New Jersey Drug Court. The list goes on. And what I'm not going to try to do with anyone is prove that you're worthy to speak on this topic. And so with that in mind, let's pray, and then let's say what we need to say. Father God, wisdom right now and guidance so that we would do justice to your standard, to your way. I thank you for our Pastor Outerbridge, and I pray that you'll bless her during this time of sharing and informing. This is our prayer. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Let me start by asking this. As one who's in the trenches, why do you see the legalization of marijuana as a problem for Bermuda and Bermudians?
Well, as I said, Dr. Seaman, there is a saying that right is right and wrong is no man's right. And Bermuda has never been a place of do as I say, not as I do. We were raised in a culture, that's our culture, Bermuda, to lead by example no matter what you do. Any government of the day who sets out to, quote, regulate marijuana or street name, legalize it. We won't play on semantics tonight to play the game, and if that is how they choose to roll as a government, they'll let them roll. However, Bermuda has had its legal drug pushers as a society, and we've seen it. Some are still incarcerated. And we know it's wrong, and we know that it can do harm. It has caused too many individuals, and we see too many individuals in our mental facilities who are psychotic. Not cocaine, not heroin, Mary Jane. They knew it could cause and still causes harm, especially to our youth. But what the government of the day are proposing is to be in competition with the street pusher and become, quote, regulated, and the legal drug pusher. That's who they will become, the legal drug pushers themselves, collecting money for the problems that this drug has been known in our island to cause, create, and will continue to create, especially with our young minds. And that is one of my main concerns, because if adults want to continue to get high and euphoric, have the euphoria, then go ahead. But we must protect our young people who are trying to do better and develop themselves academically to take place in this society. And then there are our seniors who have had to put up with the smell of drugs for years. We've called the police, cannot control how the neighbors conduct themselves with their smoke. And so our seniors suffer in frustration when they should be enjoying their well-being and their peace, deserve years. So who speaks for them? Money should never be over people. And so I caution this government, because they're putting themselves in a position of being legal drug pushers, whether they call it legalization or regulation. That's semantics. But it is what it is. It's a money-making business. Then there's the issue of sports in the island. And all kinds of things. Elderly people don't go to a lot of games now because of the drug. I know before I even went to I stopped going because of the smell of marijuana. It was just making me nauseated. And the reports is that why many seniors do not go today is because of the smell. Been there, done that. So I'm not pleading ignorance. But like I said, the blessed teachers have been my clients, but been there, done that. But most of the time, I want to be in control of my own mind. And because we don't fully understand the makeup of this drug, we continue to use it for the high and the pleasure. However, there are long-lasting effects of it. And this has been a thought throughout, that Bermudians right now, they're confused because of the terminology that the government is proposing and the words that they're using. And what is being put forward is misleading. Young black males are being misled. They are sponging their record. But yet, our young black males cannot travel to the United States. If government wants to do something, then try to talk to America so that our black males can travel, if they indeed are expunging their records. So when I talked on TV the other night about that issue, having worked immigration years ago, I know who's in control of their borders. And whether we protect our borders like America protects their borders, then America has a right. But they say who comes in, not Bermuda. So people are getting confused when government are saying and that they're going to make a way for young black males. Yes, we're talking about two different issues. Expunging and racket. And we're talking about decriminalization. I'm for that because nobody should be incarcerated for that if that's the route they want to take. But do not give our people the impression that they will be expunged from all over the world, because that's not it. In most times, they will cause more problems for them. So, and because a lot of people don't know what marijuana is even. What is marijuana? The botanical name is marijuana, or cannabis sativa. And this comes from the marijuana plant. It has many different street names, and we'll talk about it, but cannabis has a psychoactive ingredient that is mind-altering. Anything you put in your body it's not made for real mind-altering. So they call it psychoactive. And marijuana's psychoactive ingredient, which causes that altering effect of the mind that people say how they feel good, is called delta 9, tetrahydrocannabinol. And I know it's a long word, but that's what THC is. The tetra for the T, the H, hydro, the C for cannabinol. And that's all it is. We just educate ourselves to that. So we may hear people saying such things as THC level was not high, or it was low, or that was good weed, or it was bad weed. And weed and its potency is based on the climate, the time of harvesting it, and the soil, and the conditions. The time of the year it's planted, the time that it's harvested, which determines the potency of the marijuana. So, quote, how good marijuana is, or that was some soft weed or bad weed or whatever terminology, that's not important. The thing is that marijuana causes effects, and we have to understand that that's what it is. The more potent marijuana will, of course, increase the physical and mental effects. And the individual using it, which varies from person to person based on the chemical makeup of the individual that's using it, and also, in many instances, the body chemistry, that's what we're talking about, of the individual. But marijuana has its own makeup. Yes, she was put here by God. Everything on this earth is put here by God. But don't bring God into, our misuse of substances. Because if you don't understand a thing, you're apt to abuse a thing. And that is what is happening with marijuana. And for whatever reason,
let me say this. I find it, you spoke about the culture of Bermuda, and how we are so ready to embrace other cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't this be a major shift for our children, our families?
Well, then, Dr. Seaman, we can look at it broadly, because it's not only pertaining to just the marijuana, where Bermudians have lost their identity. It's in everything. Many times we don't basically put ourselves out there as a culture. We are who we are. We are the gumbays. We are the codfish and potatoes. We are the farine pie. So I don't expect to go to a hotel and ask the waiter, what is this? I should be looking at some Bermuda food. But then again, I don't have to look at another country. Bermuda is who they are. We are who we are. I go to the islands, I accept who they are, because that's the culture. And neither do I expect Bermuda to be like anybody else, or anybody else to be like Bermuda. But one thing we do know as a culture, we were an island, and we were on the basis of knowing what was right and what was wrong. I came up in an era way back in the 60s. My goodness, I had cousins who were smoking tea bag leaves before marijuana was a high issue, just to get a high. And some people may think that's funny. But people will go to certain lengths to get what they want to get and to defend whatever they use. But this drug is no pushover. I've seen families ruined because of it, and we will get to it, of course, in the questions, but it's my passion. Because we're talking about the ground roots and Bermuda culture and who we are. We trying to adopt a culture from another country. Oh, if I go to Jamaica, I can smoke all the weed I want. Well, go there, but don't bring it here. And if we see money as an issue, or the thing that is going to make this country rich and get us out of the deficit, then we're heading down the wrong road. We are opening up Pandora's box.
Pastor, wouldn't it then result in more families, single-parent families, needing government assistance because one parent is into the read? I think we're experiencing already right now. Why would we add to that?
Well, again, a good question. Because if I can pay my rent, but I have to pay the pusher because I need to have my spliff. I need to be able to function in the morning. I need to take the edge off. Or I can't get to sleep at night. But I know if I do a little bit of Mary Jane now, I'm going to be all right. And even for the one who's smoking, they don't understand. All they know is she helps me. I call her she because that's what she is, Mary Jane. She's got her own makeup. And so we're compounding the issues in the country. We already do not have enough social workers in this island to handle the social issues we have now. So you're telling me that you're going to give them a license, and as I said on ZBN, you know that people are shooting each other, but you're not giving people a license to kill each other respectfully. And that's what you will be doing, giving them a license to use drugs effectively. How can you do that? And you have more psychoactive people, psychotic people down in our institutions. We don't have room enough now. We don't know what to do with them now.
And so let's speak to that, Pastor. Why introduce a drug that's going to result in psychotic episodes and lifestyles when we don't have the facility to support it?
Well, they call it insanity. But are we expecting the government of the day to be insane? Yes. Everybody can go down a path of insanity if they're put in the right predicament. And that is a deficit and money to be made. And so then if you look at Canada, and Canada made $8 billion, well, Bermuda could do that too. However, at the expense of who? The people? Is wrong. And I cannot see any sense in this at all. Any sense. Because our courts are full with this. Streets are this, and the gateway drug, they call it. But she's got to make up. But yes, it's the first drug they use. Before they go on, nobody wakes up an addict. But if I could get that good high off of Mary Jane, then somebody said, okay, let's lace it. Let's lace it with some coke. Let's put a little bit of heroin on it and tip you over. Then you try. But then again, the person takes a hit. Then the hit wants a hit. And then the hit wants the man. And you've lost control. Physiologically, psychologically, and whatever names they want to call it, pot, weed, in Africa, they call it, South Africa, they call it daga. In Morocco, they call it kif. Doesn't matter about the names that you put out there on the street or whether people are knowledgeable. We're talking about marijuana, Doutra, 9, all of that, THC, that is mind altering.
Once you place this substance in your body, you have no personal control over how that substance changes the makeup of your brain, how the nerves respond. If
marijuana had up a sign written on her, she'll say, use me at your own risk because of the effects. And the effects is, yes, I will make you feel good. I'll make you feel nice. Laid back. You know, you feel all peaceful because that's all, you know, heads will say, you know, I'm peaceful, we're peaceful, you know, and we don't do this and we don't do that and whatnot. But yet you're taking money off of your family's table to go buy an ounce or whatever it takes. And I don't even know how much it is. I don't care. Because if it's money off of your family's tables, we are in a mess. Let's be straight up. And so the risk that she says is it worth the pleasure? Or you can't sleep at night and you don't know why you can't sleep. Or you're irritable. And then our young people are angry and don't even know why they're angry. Because they're in the puberty stage and their minds are not fully developed. But then they take on Mary Jane because their parents use it. And if my parent is doing it, it's got to be all right. Because they're my parents. And so people that are sitting back that are uneducated, you know, they'll say, well, if government is doing it, it's got to be all right. But government are not even using the information at their disposal through the Department of National Drug Commission. Now, the other day we saw this little survey that was put out. What about the children that have dropped out of school? Don't try to get me the ones that are on target. Get me the ones that dropped out because they no longer can hold an A or B or whatever, but, you know, don't feel like reading no more. Because why? It's a sedative drug. You're not supposed to be bouncing all up all over the place, and some people say they do, based on their body chemistry, but you're certainly not going to want to read no books. So another one of the effects, she has more tar than a cigarette. So a lot of people, before they even get to the old age, will suffer from emphysema or cancer because the effects are not readily, but they come down the road or they're delayed in what they're saying to you.
So I just have a comment here, and you can speak to it. The listener says, and the effects of the secondhand smoke on the children in the house or close proximity to their smoking, that danger.
Yeah.
You know, one Saturday I was cleaning the house, smelled something, and my daughter said, Mama, you don't know what that is? And so I'm here getting secondhand weed smoke. I didn't even know what it is.
Yes.
So how do you legalize that? How do you monitor that?
You don't. And that's like they're having a problem now because the thing of the matter is, besides from a contact high, and that may not affect them like that, but then again, you're teaching them something. You're teaching them, do as I do. And so every child is going to defend their parent. You know, whether they're right or wrong, because that's my parent. That's my mama. That's my daddy you're talking about. So then you force your child to be an advocate of something that they really don't believe in. But because you attacked my parent, I'm going to come at you. That's for anything that we're experiencing in this island. And we must be very careful to protect our young people. Whether it's abuse and whatever, or whatever other things that this island is facing. That they think it's okay because everybody else is doing it. Everybody else is not doing it. You find a few people who are out there out of the 100 and something nations and somebody was doing something crazy. They said everybody's doing it. That's a lie from the pit of hell, if I may say so. Everybody's not doing it. So we need to get off of that.
You said that we are already in a next generation cycle. Those smoking weed because they're going to have a love relationship with their parents.
Yeah. Well, you're my mama, you're my daddy, a relationship, of course. So I'm going to smoke now. You know, I may complain because I asked you for some money for my school supplies. You didn't have it, but yet you could go buy weed. So after a while, you know what? Let me join you. Yeah. That's the home. If my mama does it, my daddy does it, it's all right. I'm not got my school books, you know. I may have holes in my shoes. They can't buy me no new shoes, but everybody's got weed, so I may as well join them. And get happy too.
Here's the question. What are the long-term effects of smoking marijuana on the brain, or the mind and body?
long terms, and you're talking about, again, some of the things that I mentioned as far as the loans is concerned. But then again, you got the mental delay, a person who was up and up, now lethargic. And I've worked at Turning Point in the Bermuda Hospitals Board. If it wasn't for confidentiality, I would tell you some of the scenarios. All they smoked was marijuana. The effects on the brain, or hallucinating, schizophrenic onset because of the young person that used it, or somebody believes it's the herb of the earth. I mean, God put it here, so I go on a fast, and marijuana is part of it because it's a herb of the earth. God put it here. But yet, in all of that toxics in your brain, you're going to hold your mother at knife point and kill her. Because the toxicity in your brain is took you over the edge and you don't even know why you're going off.
It lulls you into
Irrationality and anger. But for a moment, you may go over. Some people that may be listening say, well, I haven't experienced that. That's you. But if it affects one person, it affects us all.
How does the government legalize weed, not knowing the danger that is going to be to this family, and to the children? We're having trouble now in school.
Mm-hmm.
How will the impact be on the education system?
Mm.
We've got Dr. Karika Weldon right now.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt that she could be the doctor she is if she had been smoking weed.
That's right. That's right. Takes too much concentration.
We're not willing to deal with this.
Too much concentration in books. And Mary Jane is not going to let you do that. You're going to be too laid back. Study? What study? And I've engaged many young people who have been just tired. Well, I didn't do my homework. Well, why? Well, I was tired. Why are you tired? Well, I was just tired. No, you're smoking. You're briefing. And if I take a urine test, it will prove that you're using. So how does a government do this? What's driving them? So maybe the wrong thing.
Are we to think that money
Yep.
has become God?
Mm-hmm.
How can you lose poison? Are we so happy about weed that now we're going to legitimize it for our families?
Mm-hmm.
I would say this. What politicians are willing to say, I want my child to smoke marijuana? I want them to come out and say that.
But then again, when we say we, because I don't believe it's speaking for the majority of Bermudians at this junction. And one thing about Bermuda, and the last administration can attest to that, if you are so gung-ho on pursuing a thing, Bermudians meet you at the polls. They meet you at the polls. The last administration wanted to press on, and the people were saying no. And when the polls came, it showed them. You didn't listen. And we need to listen. We ought not think that your popularity for the moment is going to hold you. Especially when you touch on an issue that's going to impact our young people's minds. Or putting out there that you're really trying to help blacks. Especially a young black man. The only person that's going to be on the top is going to be another race, and it's not going to be us. So again, you have your knee in my neck. And you may not be killing me like the brother Floyd, but you're killing me here.
Yes.
And so we need to stop the semantics and stop fooling our people. Why would you want to go there? And if you look, even if you looked at Canada, Canada has never been a country that's been progressive in anything. And I no reflection on the Canadians, but look at it. What have they really progressed in? Bermuda needs to be who we are culturally and trust ourselves on the God that we serve. Don't have to be spiritual, but I guarantee you at the root of everything, why this island has even survived is based on spiritual foundation of our founders who did not allow anything to come in and stop their children from getting an education. And we are not a race that have to pay money for any institution to let our children in because we don't have that. Our children have to basically study to get where they get. And neither do we have the money to send our children abroad when they mess up, because the statistics only show that there are more blacks using drugs in this island because the other race has the money.
And aren't we going to complain that we can't get jobs?
Well,
and that the foreigners taking over?
Well, if you talk about getting a job and you show up to my establishment and you want a job, you know, you had to have your split because you want to be perked up. That's your start of the day. And you come there with eyes all red and, you know, looking all with the marijuana look, most of them, because after a while it does give you the look of the drug. But then again, am I going to allow you to drive me on a bus? Am I going to allow you to drive me on the ferry? You're driving your own car, but when you talk about putting all these people's lives, you're going to drive my grandmother, you're going to drive my mother on a bus. Who polices that? So then you're saying to them that then they can't have a job. So whether they tell you on the application or not, it's gonna pan out in driving the bus.
So let me just put this bug in here. Are we looking down the road of creating a welfare system because we're gonna have a bunch of meatheads who can't work?
Well, are we? Because it certainly looks like it, because if they cannot get a job that they want based on a lot of things, and your performance or so on, or you didn't get up for work because you were tired or whatever, then you've got to take care of them. We're already there. Creating that unspoken welfare system, because the taxpayers now have to basically support those who are sitting on the wall or wherever, or sitting around playing cards when they could get a job. You know, I mean, this is no joke that, you know, you're in college, you went through college, you smoked and you're fine. But what about the person who smokes it every day? So even with our elite, you know, politicians who may, oh, I tried it in college and it's all right. No, you tried it in college, like probably many of us. But then you stopped because you had to graduate because there's a whip behind you, your parents. Nowadays, if you ain't cutting it, I'm taking you out of school. I'm going to put you out here to hustle somewhere. But yet you want to get married. You want to have a family. You want to support your children. You want them to do better than you did. So what are we doing? That's why I call it Pandora's box, because at this moment, government don't have a clue. And we pray for those in authority over us, which we do every day. But there is a point in time when, you know, ignorance just has to go out the door. Because you have a body there that can give you the expertise. The Department and the National Drug Commission. Some of the colleagues that I've worked with for years. And for the people to say, okay, well, there was a survey, you're dependent on one low survey, and you just got to go around and look around Bermuda and see it.
Why don't we ask all this in responsibility?
There's a responsibility. These agencies fall under the Bermuda government, and many of these agencies need to be separate. They need to be separate. Because if you're always going to have your thumb or your knee in my neck, when I've trained in an area and telling me what to do and I'm the one that's trained, then it's not really effective. It's counterproductive. So it's almost as if you're going against the very people that you pay to advise you. And then you start telling them what you're going to do. And it doesn't make for much business sense at all. And if people are not educated, they're like a loose cannon. And that's what's happening because of the play on words in this island. Yes, we want the people's records to be cleared. But don't give them the idea that they will be safe in this island to go and get a job if they continue to use. Or my next door neighbor, you're disturbing me every night. You got to smoke weed. I can't sleep for your weed. Or anything for that matter of fact. Cocaine if I smell it. So if we're going to be real, let's be real. But there are too many entities that they could have asked and sat around the table and gotten a good consensus, a sensible consensus of this drug without talking about it's going to happen because it's happening already. And again, you become a legal drug pusher. And then you're in competition with the man on the street. And even if you look at the data out there now with Canada, Canada can't even supply all of that. So they're going to the black market. What is the Bermuda government going to do? Say, look, you guys out there, if you got a garden somewhere stashed away, we need your help. But then again, we know that governments don't like competition.
It's not going to end well.
We're in a pretty mess right now, just for us thinking that we could even discuss something so... I don't know what word to have for it, Pastor. I don't even know what word to call it.
Irrational. Something that we have known without even being taught for over 4 decades, 5 decades of my life. It's wrong. Mm-hmm. How did wrong become right? When a dollar line gets placed next to it?
And the drug is not changed. And we have our young people debating this thing. And they're debating it based on what other countries are doing. But what I want to encourage the debaters is they need to go to NIDA, go to SEMSHA, and see what the clinicians and the scientists are saying about marijuana. That's where you go. Don't go and look at Canada. You look at Colorado right now. They have more emergency department admissions than anything from young people since they've legalized it. Colorado. So if we don't have any concern for anybody else, let's have some concern for our young people.
So what about this? So you just said something. With weed being legalized, are there going to be classes on how to use it being injured?
Classes? Classes for what?
I'm just saying. How could a government let loose a poison in society where we don't know how individuals are going to be impacted?
Well, if we want to call those who use drugs insane, then we're going to have an insane government, you know? And they've done some good work. I mean, they have been making decisions that are so admirable and will be considered admirable to the whole world. But, you know, Bessie was a good cow. She gave good milk. But then she knocked the bucket of milk over. And that's what's happening. You've made some good decisions, yes. But don't go there. Because you are going to stunt the growth of a generation and kill us. We've already been bought out of slavery. Why are we going to go back to slavery? You set up magistrates and judges to what? A court that is full. Our children home full of psychotic young people.
So what are the judges and the magistrates in Bermuda?
Well, remember, judges, and I sit in the family court, we enforce the law that the legislators make. And so what we need to do is approach the legislators. Your MP, my MP. The judges enforce law. And as we sit and we say all the time, talk to your MPs, talk to the legislators. You put them in.
Here's my point on that. Why can't they, outside of their job during the day, make a statement as a citizen of Bermuda and say that it's wrong?
We can't be seen going against each other, but all I'm saying is we stay in our lane. But then again, they're judges. They're legislators. I mean, they are the ones that enforce the legislation. Why can't Bermudians understand that they control, basically they are the employers of the Bermuda government? Somebody had said to me, well, I don't really think that we can tell government how to raise money. Erroneous statement. The taxpayers pay your paycheck. I have a right to have an input on how you raise money for me. And that's because we don't understand even the makeup of government. The government works for you, the constituents. And because they say something, it doesn't mean that it's right. But we need to educate ourselves. As a people, we need to educate ourselves.
Let me say this. It sounds like spiritually, we are already in a comatose marijuana state.
Yeah.
Well,
Because we're just letting things go. We've made government our hero, and they're going to let us party all night.
well, Pastor Seaman.
Bermudians love to drink.
Pastor Seaman, you have to ask the question, because I think it was a very, very strategic move. Why would a government in the midst of a pandemic bring up a legislation like this? Because the people have been worn down by it. It seemed like it was strategically brought up in a time of a pandemic when the focus should have been on the pandemic and the pandemic only, rather than try to introduce another pandemic, which down the road is going to show you out. And whether you're going to lock up the people or shelter them in because of weed is yet to be seen. Because certainly the one that tries it for the first time is going to probably go on to another drug. I have clients that will come in and sit and testify to you. No, don't do it. They have children now, the cycle, because the cycle goes on. And if you don't break a cycle, it will continue. And that's what it is. We must break that cycle. Don't find another way to put our people back into slavery. Because when you start talking about money and licenses and research and all of that, a lot of us don't have the money. We know who's got the money. So guess what? They're on top again and we're on the bottom. Can we talk?
It's a business.
It's a business. Well,
And when it becomes legal, then the business people will grow the business.
yeah.
That's not how it should be.
So after you've gotten your money, now you're caught up in the results of your product. So it's just like somebody who sold drugs all their life and then their children start selling drugs and then they get locked up. Oh, and the parent that says, well, I should not have. Cycles need to be broken. Curses need to be broken. We've come out of bondage. We've come out of bondage as a nation, as a black people. Why would you put us back in? And this is, quote, a black government.
And what I find amazing is how they say something, we've got to catch up with other people.
Bermuda has to be who they are.
As drunk as they are, as silly as they are.
Bermuda has never appreciated their worth based on a lot of wrong education by, the masters of the back in the day. But I'm not in my grandma's time. I'm in this time. And our people are a little bit more educated than I would, if I were ventured to say, we have been allowed to put our education forward because it was our race that was the inventors. But of course, that was kept from us. And I know somebody's going to say, oh, that's racist. No, if you look at history, we have been the inventors. We've been the scientists. We've got a young woman in this island. Why would they be picking at her? Why? If she was Caucasian, would they be talking about her? No. And so we need to respect our own, treat our own with respect, and not put us back into any bondage with a drug because it costs money. Our children are going to do what their parents do because it's a natural thing for a child to believe that what the parent is doing is right. And we can't blame. But we do have a governmental body that is trying to, quote, regulate. Let's use the Attorney General's term, regulate. That's semantics.
How do you make weed regular?
And get money for it? You legalize
So
it.
it's all about money.
Well, you got to get money for it because it's a money-making business. That's what weed is. That's all it is. To the drug pusher on the street. To the drug pusher on the street, it's money in his pockets. So if a government does it, then they're the legal drug pushers. You could call it regulating it, but you're getting money back from it. You're pushing.
And you can determine how it impacts any child, any person. And so while you're regulating something, you really have no control over it.
You know you don't. You think you do. Because you have not come there to determine the effects of what you're trying to regulate, because you don't fully understand the drug. You looked at another country and saw that they made money, and you said, oh, look at that. Wow, we could do the same. And you say stuff like, well, they're already using it. Again, I say they're already killing each other with guns, but nobody's saying, let's regulate it. Give them a gun. Give them a gun. Straight up truth. And we're called to speak truth to powers.
Do you have more on the impact of weed on other countries?
Well, again, we've seen Colorado. We've seen, and there are not too many people that have legalized it. So when you say everybody and get on the right side of history, which they start to say, and they magnify that everybody's doing it, everybody's not doing it. So even when people in our everyday conversation say, well, everybody's smoking weed, everybody is not putting their head in that. Speak for yourself. If you want to be dumb yourself. But don't put everybody in your boat with you and say everybody's doing it. Because if you look at it, it's not.
I've been very surprised at some of the comments I heard or read on Facebook, because those folks, right in their very families, have drug addicts that are wreaking havoc on their family.
Yeah. Well, then again, it's a possibility the way that it's being presented, that it's being asset to the black race, especially. But it's not. It's a deception. And I would go as far as to say that it's a deception, because they have not thought it through as the impact on the young mind. Let's say that it was even adults. Then they can, basically be there to parent their children. And a lot of them go on to the next drug and the next drug. Why do you think we have such a big drug problem in this island? You think it didn't stop in Mary Jane?
So, where they send drugs, starting with weed, to compensate for problems, the problems don't disappear.
They compound.
The weed or the drug use increases.
It compounds, yes. But who can see? If they can see, then it's up to those that vote them in to help them to see. And you find a lot of people saying, well, I don't know. Well, find out. We're not in a position where we were in the days of our forefathers, where a person would stop you from studying if they found you with a book. We have a lot of things that we can study. You got Google, you're more up. I mean, you had to get me on Facebook. I'm not up on that. But our young children are so fast. They get online. They know where to go. Why not get them into education? Even with our seniors. Or they're saying, well, I don't know. If you sit home and you say you don't know, you will never know. And it's surprising because, it's people all around. Church folk too. You don't know? Well, when are you going to find out? You're going to wait until they take it to the Senate pass and then say, oh my gosh, somebody better stop that. Where's the church? Where's the church? Where are you? Where are you with your MP? Where are you with them? Sit them in your living room and you find out what they believe in, what they stand for. And if they're not standing for what you stand for, meet them at the polls. We control the show. But certainly, if anybody on there that supports it will want their child to smoke it now, go ahead. Then I say go ahead. But it's always the other people's child, not my child.